you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Hey, it's Jon Justice, and thank you so much for checking out the podcast. Remember, you can listen to the show Monday through Friday, 6 until 9 a.m. Central Time, live on the iHeartRadio app, and catch up on the podcast also on the iHeartRadio app as well if you miss any of the shows. I really had a great time talking with actor and comedian Jeff Dye ahead of his appearance at Acme Comedy Company here in Minneapolis.
I love what you've done with the place.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here. A lot of Star Wars on the walls, some wrestling on the walls, some bobbleheads. I feel right at home.
Yeah, this is your very typical news talk.
We're very serious here. Yes.
It's good, yeah. You can't take it too serious, you know?
So, how'd it go last night?
Really good, yeah. Acme's been awesome.
Even with the snow falling from the ground, you got a good crowd last night?
Oh, yeah. Wednesday and Thursday, both been packed. It's been great.
I love Acme.
It's a tough town to, I've been saying this on stage, but it's such a hard town to, like, profile.
Well, this is what I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, we're weird, for sure.
It's so confusing.
How much do you adjust your material based off of your location? I mean,
Zero.
You don't change it at all.
No,
you just stick
I
to
don't
what you got.
care
You're not
at all.
adjusting. You're not thinking, oh,
No.
I'm in Minneapolis. These people are crazy.
No, not at all.
All right.
Yeah, I know. Like,
Does that work for you?
yeah, because I'm myself, you know? Like,
Sure,
I
sure.
think that's kind of part of my charm a little bit is even people that disagree with me go, well, at least he's doing him. Like I'm pretty sincere with my thoughts and my material, but it's like, Minneapolis is really tough. You know, I'll meet a group of people at the bar and then be like, oh, I know what Minneapolis is about. And then I'll go to the coffee shop and get, a latte from a bearded woman. And I'm like, oh, maybe I don't. Maybe I don't know this town. Like, it's very tough. Like, Portland is super easy to profile. Mm-hmm. You go to Dallas, Texas, it's very easy to profile. But Minneapolis, you guys are really all over the map.
Jeff Dye joins us in studio again, Acme Comedy Company, this weekend, tonight and tomorrow night, 7 and 9:30 shows. Let's go way back a bit. I know that you've been doing comedy for a while now.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of Last Comic Standing. I actually remember.
Oh, nice.
You from there. You've done a lot though. You've done some television. You're doing the stand up now. Where are you most happy? Do you want to be doing more TV? Do you like doing the stand-up? I mean, where's like your zone? Are you in your zone right now?
Yeah, for sure. Stand-up comedy's always been my first love. I went from literally sleeping in a car, doing stand-up at night to, having a roof over my head and having money and being able to eat and having female company and, all because of stand-up. Like it changed my life. And it's also like the best to get on stage and be heard. Mm-hmm. Similar to maybe how you feel like, you got immigration news and you think to yourself, all right, I've got some thoughts about this.
Right.
I get to go to work and share these thoughts. And I think about that every day. Like, most marriages end because your wife or the husband or whatever feels like, oh, we're not connecting. I haven't felt heard. I don't feel heard, But with stand-up comedy, I feel heard every night. Even when I'm wrong, I have 400 people affirming me. Like, oh, sure. yeah, this guy's hilarious. So it's like, it's intoxicating to feel like, I get to be every night. I get to get up there and talk trash and have fun and make people laugh. And so stand-up comedy is definitely the best. Making movies is boring. Making TV is really boring. Like comedy is the best art form.
There's that creative element, and I think you're right. There's a bit of I can relate a bit to that because when you're in the middle of sort of crafting something, you may have material you've worked on, but I'm sure that there are moments where you're deviating from that. You're finding things in the moment. I'm wondering when you start a performance or a routine, how quickly do you get a gauge on perhaps the vibe of the audience in that moment and whether or not you're in front of a tough crowd? And do you get a sense of that pretty early on?
Yeah, you can tell. And it's changed a little bit. Like, it's changed for me as like when you get a little bit of success or a little bump or whatever, like you can tell, oh, these people already know who I am. Like, and that's a really good feeling. Like, it was harder last night and the night before for my openers than it was for me. Like, they were like, oh, they're tough, you know? And then I went out there and they changed their tune, which is hilarious. I've done nothing yet, but all of a sudden I'm getting an easier crowd because they feel like they feel like they know me.
Sure.
Yeah.
When I started in radio, when I was partnered up with a guy for a number of years early in my career, and he had some experience being a stand-up comedian.
Oh, nice.
I got up on stage one time. We'll never do it again. I was terrified. We actually opened the Ontario Improv in Southern California at that moment.
Who was the other person? What was
his name was Dick Wybrow.
Dick Wybrow.
Yeah. Now he's left America and he lives in New Zealand.
Holy moly, New Zealand's beautiful. I bet
he's the smarter of the
very
two.
Happy, yeah.
But he had told me that he was trying to get, because we talked on the radio, but he was trying to have me get over my fear. And he was like, the thing about going and doing stand-up is the audience is cheering for you. They want you to they want you to succeed. They're not here to not be entertained. Right. So I imagine if you've got a crowd of people that already know you, then it's almost like you're one step ahead of the game with that.
And sometimes I lecture them. Like sometimes they're giving me a little tood, and you got to treat the crowd like they're a bunch of 8-year-olds. Like, hey, you know what? What's the problem? You came to laugh. I'm here to make you laugh.
Sure.
Like, Kevin Hart's not back there. He's not coming out.
I'm the only guy.
You're getting real snobby, you little comedy clubs. You know what I'm saying? Like, you watch your Netflixes and you watch your things, you think Carlin's going to come out. It's not. Like, these guys play giant. I mean, Carlin's dead, but like Kevin Hart, these people, they play like theaters. They play like stadiums. And the clubs are like, well, I've never heard of them. It's like, yeah, we're those next people.
Sure.
Like, so sometimes you got to lecture them a little bit, but it's been amazing lately.
How do you get material? How do you what's kind of your I guess your best practice, if you will, is it just observing people and going off of that, or do you how do you get your material?
Just everyday.
Yeah?
Just everyday stuff. Yeah, what's
the Jeff Dye process?
You practice in front of a mirror?
No, we don't do that. No. Just everyday stuff. If a thing happens, you write about it. So I guess the best way to answer that is like, I might say in my act, like, oh, I was at dinner with this woman the other night and she said this. What a stupid lady, but that probably isn't true. I probably saw something that annoys me about women, and then I put it in the situation of being at dinner with a woman.
Totally.
So that way the audience doesn't go, this guy is mad at women. I've made it about this woman. So now the crowd can laugh at it and go, he's not talking about me. He's talking about this one woman he went on a date with.
Who's nothing like me.
Right.
Yeah.
But I had to frame it that way because it's something I'm annoyed about in life.
Sure.
And it's all, it's tricky that way. But
I'm keeping with the theme that if you mention movies in the talkback, that typically sometimes those get chosen over the other ones.
Oh, there's a bias, movie bias.
Yeah, I'm a big movie guy, Jeff.
Yeah,
I'm a big movie guy.
What's your type
Sci-fi
of movies?
I'm a science fiction guy. Sci-fi and comedy, but science fiction's my.
Comedy sucks now. There's no good comedy movies.
I'm trying to think of the last good comedy movie that.
What is the last good one? What's the last good one you've
seen? 90s. I mean,
I
guess like Step Brothers and those kind of things. But even those, what was that? 10 years ago or something?
Over 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think there's many good comedies. The Coen Brothers make good comedies, but those are even like some sort of cerebral kind.
Yeah, those aren't like...
They're not like classic comedies.
Yeah, we watched Ricky Stenicki on Amazon.
Just terrible.
No, it was not good. It was funny because the end of that, I really liked the way that they wrapped it up, but that was it.
Yeah.
It was very
I watched it too, and I usually don't watch anything. I thought it was...
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah. I mean, I lasted through it, but it wasn't good, but everything's so sanitized now. I mean, this is one of the things I wanted to ask you about, talking with Jeff Dye again, Acme Comedy Company, tonight and tomorrow night, 7 and 9:30. But, with the way things have gotten in the world, and, you throw out the word woke, and everybody is so sensitive, it seems like at least comedy has been somewhat immune to that. Would you agree, or have you seen that sort of been penetrating into the audience and having to adjust accordingly or not?
Yeah, I've capitalized on it for sure, but just because things are more sensitive than they've ever been, but by just not submitting to it, it makes people go, look, holy crap, someone's talking about this. So, I've capitalized on it that way. But, yeah, because times are crazy that way, it is very strange. Just even saying woke now is controversial. Right. Everything's controversial.
Well, it's funny.
I don't know how or why.
I've watched some of your stand-up, quite a bit of your stand-up, actually. And it's funny because I was watching a clip this week in preparation of you coming in this morning, and it was an interesting little microcosm of the set you were doing and the material, which could be deemed controversial. But what I really appreciated about what had happened when I kind of removed myself from being entertained by what you were saying, was just sort of watching the dynamic and listening to the crowd. Yeah. It was almost a snapshot of how it used to be. So you would have somebody in the audience that may have groaned or, because they were getting offended by what you were saying, but yet the chorus of laughter pushes that aside, and suddenly you go, okay, well, I guess I'm in the minority on this one.
Yeah, the audience is the democracy.
To myself,
Well, it is fascinating. It's like, how are we going to live in a time that is as wild as it is, and no one wants to address it? There is no space for comedians to be joking about cats anymore. Which is fine. I like all types of comedy, and I was a clean comic for a long time. But it's like the new rule, evidently for young people, is just don't talk about it. Well, no, I want to talk about it. Like we have people being, we have an influx of people thinking like we shouldn't have borders. We've got, bearded ladies. We have, just name anything. We've got, vaccine conspiracies, and I have grown friends who think the world is flat. Like, why aren't we talking about these things? Yeah. And people just go, that's the new rule is just don't talk about it or you're a bad person.
Well, it's funny because we come on every, Friday, and there's a brand new, and you've been on Gutfeld, and it's like there's 8 different topics that you can cover where if you don't joke about them or you don't talk about them, you go insane. It's like, I can't believe we live in this world right now where
people think it's polite to just not address it.
Right.
And it's like, no, I think it would be smarter if we addressed it. And then I should be awarded the courtesy of being wrong about things, because if I'm wrong about it, then I can learn. But if neither one of us talk about it, or neither one of us joke about it, or neither one of us bring it up, nothing's happening. So, like, for me, it's like I target those issues with my stand-up comedy, because let's have some fun with it. Let's talk about it. Let's I don't know. I think it's better to talk about it than to just ignore it and do jokes about, raisins.
Well, and most simply put, again, talking with Jeff Dye, we're talking about that freedom of speech aspect of it. If you go too far, the audience isn't going to show up to to see your comedy.
Sure.
They're going to be like, I don't want to go see him. I don't think he's funny. I think he's too controversial or whatever. I mean, that's how it should work. But it's almost like you have this bizarre push and pull taking place in the public sphere, where you've seen some comedians that have been potentially silenced, and you've seen them, large targets, and the controversy's gotten so big where it's kind of followed them around, and that gets kind of put out up on the media. But yet you still do have the bastions of what you go and do, where people are out there doing their thing. They're letting their voice be heard. They're doing the comedy that they want to do. It's just interesting how certain comedians get targeted, and then other ones don't. And it seems like it's so driven off of agenda often. Do you get concerned at all?
No, I don't care at all.
You don't get worried at all?
Yeah, about this subject, I really think that I'm doing what's right. Like, as far as, like, by just talking about it. Like, I think that is what we're supposed to be doing. I'm trying to think, as you were saying that, I thought of something and now it's left me, but the idea that, like, why would we not talk about these things? It's like people go, it's not polite. It'd be controversial. It's like, yeah, well, that's the whole thing. What is edgy about just talking about stuff?
You have some, you do podcasts as well, right?
Yeah.
So, you have a couple?
I have a podcast called Everybody's Got a Price with Josh Nelson. That's like a comedy podcast. Okay. I have one called Jeff Dye's Friendship, where I just bring in a guest once a week. And then I have one called Wrestling with Freddie, where it's me and Freddie Prinze Jr., and we talk about wrestling once a week.
Yeah, Robbie needs to go and get on board with that one.
Awesome. Freddie, big Star Wars guy.
Oh, Freddie's a huge Star Wars guy.
We talk about.
He's a very controversial Star Wars guy.
Yeah,
he's sparked the ire of many a fan with his commentary around Star Wars. I'm a big fan of Freddie Prinze.
Yeah, that Star Wars rant was on my podcast.
Oh, was that on?
It's really funny.
Okay, yeah.
If you look at it, like, you just see me and my producer friend Tony just giggling and agreeing, like, like we're in this clip. No one knows it was in my house.
Right. But this goes back to what I was talking about. Like, there's no escaping it anymore. Like, whether if it's political, if it's within pop culture, the ability that people have to share their opinion on a moment's notice, and so much of it being, under the, because they're anonymous in so many different ways, it fuels the negativity.
Sure.
Prior to the internet, going, when I was younger. But, you would talk about these things amongst your friends, but that's as far as it would go.
Right.
Now you shotgun it everywhere, and then you get a whole bunch of other individuals that are reinforcing this point of view, which is probably really bad and shouldn't be reinforced. But now you suddenly think that you're completely right in this and everybody else is wrong, and you won't even hear another opinion.
Sure. When I used to work at MTV. We had a show called Money from Strangers, and then I did I was on a bunch of MTV stuff. I was in the MTV family, and we would get tons of letters and tons of emails from people being like, "This is filth. This is disgusting. What you guys are making is the problem with the whatever." And you know who those letters were from? Conservatives and Republicans and Christians. They were going, "This is just smut," And this is 2007, 2008. Now, it's completely changed.
Right.
It's young people, it's liberals and Democrats who are going, "How dare you use that word?" Or "How dare you say this thing?" Or "How dare you comment on said subject?" And everybody has feelings and don't talk about nothing. And it's the old people that are going, "Hey, get mail, boss." Like the Republicans and the Christians and the old people have become cool. Yeah. They're the cool people.
It's the counterculture, baby.
It makes and the young people are these nerd squares who are literally offended by everything. In fact, they're offended that you even call them offended.
Right.
They're probably triggered right now. They're going, "Who is this boomer telling us that we're triggered? We're not triggered." It's like, that's triggered, stupid. But so it's this very strange pendulum swing that I never thought I would see, where it's like the old cowboys are back. Right. It's very unusual.
It kind of reminds me of I think it was Jerry Seinfeld who had the rant about how he won't do college shows.
Yeah, him
anymore.
and Chris Rock were talking about it. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy though? That probably, John, when you went to college, right? College was probably the place to be to do a comedy show.
Sure.
Because you like
they're
comedy.
young and fun, and they want.
It felt safe.
Also, I don't know how to share this next thing without using a word I'm not supposed to say on radio, but
I have a dumb button right here. I've had my hand
up.
over it
I'll
the
try
whole
to
time.
think of an edgy a word that we could say. So this has kind of been the new idea of the way, because I don't hate young people by any means. I love them to death, and I think their heart is in the right place. I think they're just annoyingly fascist the way they're going about things.
You can use that word.
Yeah, they're very fascist. So, for example, I could say, RAPE. I'm not. I don't say that word on the radio. I'll say that's bad. I would say the R word. I'd be like, that's bad, and all young people would be is like, he's talking about blank. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're not even hearing that I'm calling it bad.
No.
Or that maybe the point of the subject
You've just
is
said
to
the
say,
word rape, and I'll say rape. I can say it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, you've just said the word rape.
That's it.
You
And that's all they hear.
About it. Right.
Is that he said, "Oh, God, you hear him? He said rape." You're like, "Yeah, I'm saying it's bad, dummy."
Well, you didn't give the appropriate trigger warning before you actually used the word.
Which is insane, yeah. And so, I think that's kind of what's happening, is that the words are negating the message. And so I am so fine with what I'm saying about these subjects that I'm going, if you really listen, then you would understand that my point is that we should all be getting along and loving each other, and you don't have to cry about what word I used to get there.
Well, it's funny because it used to be so benign as, wait until the college student gets out in the real world for them to see how much the government is taking from their paycheck.
Yeah.
Right. That was like the you just wait. You wait. They may be liberals now, but when they see, how much
I'm not sure
the
that's
taxation, we've blown past that.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's the
well,
case
and it makes
anymore.
me wonder too, is what will there be a turning point for those people when they do get older, those ones that have been indoctrinated in the public school system and have gone through what's been taking place in our universities? Because not everybody will certainly change. People still stay liberal. But at the same time, when you do get out into the real world, at least for the moment, it pushes right up against the reality that they've created in their own minds.
Right.
And, you wonder, at what point are they going to will they have a wake-up call?
They will, I think. I think that all it takes is your first job. You have one job where you go, I'll surround myself with a bunch of other baristas that wear masks and have all these crazy ideas. But guess what? You're going to have 100 customers an hour that you're going to have to deal with. And you roll your eyes at every one of these customers, but you'll slowly realize, oh, yeah, there's a community everybody out there, and there's a world that isn't this extreme.
Right.
So like, I'm pretty optimistic about that, because I also think that all these young people, their heart's in the right place. I think they've got sheltered by universities where they teach them literally anything they want. Oh, fat is healthy. They just that's a thing where they just go
healthy at all sizes.
Yeah, just wait till you talk to a doctor. He's going to tell you, no, you got to lose this weight if you want to keep living.
You'll even have content creators go, well, doctors don't know everything.
I know.
It's like, what?
That's what I'm telling you. Young people like that, they'll see how the real world works, and then they'll have to.
I was walking through Target yesterday, and I've said this before on the air. And again, I'm walking through Target, and typically I'm heading back to the toys or the movie section, and I'm looking at the mannequins, and I go, why we should not have the different size mannequins? Why are they?
It's confusing, right?
We shouldn't be championing any of this. This is not the way that we should be.
But it also doesn't seem like it's making anyone happier.
No, it doesn't. Well, it's funny you bring that up real quick. It's funny you bring that up because I wanted to mention this. Talking with Jeff Dye again, performing at Acme Comedy Company tonight, tomorrow night, 7 and 9:30. There was a new survey that was done. This was the Florida Atlantic University Pollcom Main Street Research, whatever. So they were basically looking at the election between Biden and Trump, and they were looking at the satisfaction of life scale to measure overall happiness. And the question comes down to, the headline of this was, who wins, Biden or Trump? The answer may depend on happiness. And I thought, I went through, and I won't go into all the details. I did my notes on it and all that. But I'm reading this, and I'm going, okay, stop. You know what? I don't care about happiness. We're looking at this the wrong way. I'd much rather just have peace.
Sure.
I would just rather be at peace. Because you're not going to be able to get rid of the bad stuff around you.
Sure.
It's how you go and deal with it. So the whole premise of, how happy you are in life is going to determine whether or not you vote for Biden or Trump. I go, oh, no, this is not how we should be examining this, because life is filled with hardships and it's not always going to cater to you.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the right show for this, but you want to know what's going to make you happy? You turn it off.
Yeah.
That's what's going to make it. If that old
You can say it, I don't mind.
psychopath gets back in office, Joe Biden, who can't even form a sentence, who's literally being helped across pathways by any party that works in the White House because he can't find his own way, or the egomaniac Donald Trump gets back in office, neither one of those are going to make you happy.
Right.
You turn it off. Turn off the news. You turn it all off. You don't got to be reading up about genocide and war and loading up all day about how the world is sexist and misogynistic and racist. Turn it off. You've got your circle of friends you love. You got your family who you have, and that's what you do. Things you like, and you do things that you go meet some new people every once in a while. Like, that's the secret, is that it's gotten too big.
Yeah.
Right. Like
We've become too interconnected.
Yeah, the cowboys, right? Like, let's say in the old times, me and you, we'll have to put us three. We're all riding our horses. We got a picture of whoever we love in our wallet, and we've got to ride the horses, and then we get to our campsite once the sun goes down, and we'd maybe see some lights out in the distance, and we go, I wonder what's going on out there. That's it. We'd wonder. Right. We would eat our beans out of a can, and we would maybe talk about, I don't know what the heck's going on out there. And we just couldn't wait to get back to that person we loved that we're looking at the photo of, and that's it. Whereas now, I know everything in every country, in countries I can't even find on a globe. I know everything that's going on. I know what my stupid ex-girlfriend had for breakfast this morning. Yeah. I know. I should know nothing about Taylor Swift. I'm not looking her up. I know I can name every Kardashian. I've never seen that show in my life. It's too much. We're getting too much. We're taking on the sadness of a hurricane that killed a bunch of people we would have never met or cared about. We're taking on all the stress of an election that's happening in Syria. Like we shouldn't need to know any of that crap.
Well, case in point, as I do, I'm really familiar with what you do, but I do my cursory Google search, and that I told myself, I don't need to know any of this.
Right.
I don't need to know all of this about Jeff Dye.
100%.
I want to know how Jeff Dye is funny.
Yeah, that's it.
I want to know why he does comedy and why he enjoys doing comedy.
Exactly.
I don't need to know everything else. I don't think anybody else needs to know everything.
It's too much. We have too much access to all the stuff, and it's making people crazy. It's literally like people are having mental breaks because they're just going, I can't do all this.
Right. Right. I think it's even talking about college kids, we would hope that they grow up one day. I think these devices create create permanent children.
Yeah.
Because you still have a community that you have access to all the time that are just like it. How have these devices, like you talked about MTV and your time there, and just you've had a long career even up to this point. Like how has like social media kind of changed comedy?
It's changed everything. Yeah, it's changed because now we don't have to go through networks. Now we don't have to be on MTV. Now, like, we can just put it yourself, and there's no censors. I can literally post anything I want, and immediately. I did a podcast yesterday. I was ranting about something, and then I immediately sent that clip to my web guy. I said, "Put this up tomorrow." He goes, "No problem," and it'll just be up. I didn't have to wait for NBC's standards and practices to make sure that everything was appropriate or fell in line.
And it probably wouldn't be approved in this day and age.
Yeah, exactly. We got to run it by Jimmy Kimmel's office and make sure he thinks it's okay.
Denied.
As long as it's morally superior to whatever he's pandering to. And so, yeah, it's made that a lot better for my career. And there's a lot of positives of social media. But I was just trying to say that, like, it would be best if we just didn't. And you don't have to engage. You don't have to engage in any of it.
Right.
And, like, that's your freedom. If you want freedom, just do the things you love and just keep your own circles. Yeah. And that's it. You don't really have to even worry about people doing things you don't like in a home that you don't live in. Like, who cares? Like, you can just do your own, your own stuff. That's the secret sauce.
How long are you on the road for?
I'm on the road every weekend. Yeah. So
You like being on the road?
Yeah, that's kind of my schedule. So basically, I get to be in my house Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I get to be home, do my own stuff, and hang out. And then once I'm kind of like getting restless, I get to be on the road for Thursday, Friday, Saturday in some town.
Nice.
And then 3 days is perfect in any town. Any town's great for 3 days.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Jeff Dye, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
I know it's early. I hope that the rest of your shows at Acme go great. 7, 9:30 tonight and tomorrow night.
I'm going.
Yeah.
Come hang out. I'd invite you, but you go to bed at 6 p.m.
Yeah. Well, tonight I can stay up, actually. So but thank you so much for coming in, man.
Thanks
it was
for
great.
having me.
Really
Appreciate
enjoyed it.
If you want to email me, justice@iheartmedia.com. You can also email talkshownerd@gmail.com. Before I let you go, if you like to read science fiction, I hope you'll take a moment and check out my science fiction space opera series, Embark. Treat yourself, a friend, or a family member with sci-fi. I wrote it for adults, but it is great for ages 11 plus. 7 books in all in the series, available on Kindle Unlimited if you subscribe to that service. Ebook, hardcover, paperback, and audiobook narrated by me. You can go to Amazon.com or you can go to mynerdworld.net. You can hit the links there to check out the books. But if you go to Amazon.com, just search for Embark and Jon, Jon Justice. Here is the description of book 1 of the story. Follow a ragtag squadron of pilots and one reluctant hero on a journey of survival as they fight for their future far from Earth. With interstellar travel possible, pilot Taft Guardia prepared to travel to distant worlds. But when an apocalyptic industrial accident sparks a global evacuation, exploring the stars becomes a matter of survival. Meanwhile, a ruthless corporate madman with an armada of starships threatens every vessel not loyal to his regime. When a cryptic message from the past leads to what may be the only key to stopping him, it's up to Taft and his squadron to save Earth's evacuees before it's too late. Listen, again, if you like science fiction, space opera to be epic, filled with a lot of really cool tech, some romance, and a ton of action, that Embark is perfect for you. Again, head on over to Amazon.com, search for Jon, Jon Justice, and Embark, or mynerdworld.net. And remember, check out the show Monday through Friday, 6 until 9 a.m. on the iHeartRadio app, Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130 and 103.5 FM.